Parents, we know some of you will be saying, it's not your fault that a child is mischievous or a child is a criminal or a child is misbehaving. We know that, and we are aware of the fact that a priest cannot give birth to a priest. A teacher cannot give birth to a teacher. We know that a president cannot give birth to a president. It's impossible. We know that sometimes when you are sleeping and you're told them they should not go out in the nights and drink alcohol, they jump through the windows and they go out there and do these things. We are aware of that. We know that. Parents, we know for a fact that you never send them out there to sleep with other people's daughters. We know that you never send your daughters to open up their legs for other men's sons and get pregnant. We know that. We know that it's not your fault. It is their fault. Parents, who are we going to blame in this particular fashion? Are we supposed to blame the child? Let us face facts. There is what we call indoctrination in the child. You put something into the child's mind from the time the child is born. Yes, what I'm trying to say is, you inflict some kind of fear of something in the child by actually isolating the child from wrong activities, wrong associations, wrong movements, or wrong friends. You actually inflict some kind of fear in a child by establishing a fact that of course will haunt the child whenever you do something of this particular nature. No matter you are my child, the consequences will follow, not the lessening of the punishment. Parents, we know exactly that you are not responsible for their activities. You are not with them when they are doing these things out there. You are not telling them to do them, but you are responsible for their lives. You are responsible to inflict, to actually prepare the kind of field where you're going to plow the seeds. You need to prepare the field, to plow the field, put the fertilizers in the field, put the seed, water the field, so that the seed can germinate. There can be good production from that field. That's your responsibility. It's not very easy to plow the field because you need to go out there and take an instrument and work day and night or during very difficult conditions to plow that field. It's not easy. But at the end of the day, you want to eat from that field. You want to get the actual product from that field. Why do you work so hard to get the product from that field? It's because you want to survive. If you don't get product from that field, you will never survive. Why can't you actually work this soil that is the child? Work it so hard so that you should get the production that you're actually expecting from her, as much as you can work the field. You know for a fact that if you're not going to work, you're not going out there to get money in order to feed your family is going to starve. You'll go out there and devise all kinds of means in order to get money in your hand in order to feed your family. Why can't you just work so hard, that hard, double that way, in order to make sure you actually put this kind of understanding in the child? The greatest expectations from her to the real life. I know some of you'll be saying we have tried, but you have not tried enough. A child is a human being. A child can be controlled. A child can be controlled. A child can hear and a child can understand. But the minute both parties are just going to have a line between them. The minute the mother and the father are going to have misunderstanding, when the father says no, the mother says yes, or the mother makes a way for the child to get out of the house when the father says no, the trouble has started, because there will never be a control over the child. It means if somebody is busy plowing the child, plowing the field, somebody is covering the field. Somebody is plowing the field, somebody is covering the field. So there is no way there will be production from that field. How will you expect that child to become a proper child if both you as workers on that field, you are not actually communicating well how actually to get production out of it? Yes, I fully understand, parent, that you cannot choose for what a child is supposed to be. Yes, you cannot choose a child to become a minister of religion because you are, or to be a teacher because you are. Because God actually blessed that child with a different talent. But you can choose good morals for your child. You can actually place good morals within the heart of your child. So your child should represent the family then and to represent the family tomorrow, since that child will be the questions today that people will be watching and the answers of tomorrow. If you say, these are the modern children, we cannot help it. Nonsense. Nonsense. And if you're going to say, they've got their rights from the government, nonsense. You cannot expect the government to actually raise up your child. You cannot expect your next door neighbor to raise up your child. The government cannot tell you how to raise up your child. The government can only protect the child against brutality, if there is brutality in the family against the child. By saying you need to implant the seed. I don't mean taking a whip and beating up the child. I always repeat this in my topics. The word that actually God actually voiced out, let there be, and the word happened to be there, is supposed to be the replica word that accomplish all the activities in the world. If ever you're going to, out of your mouth, rebuke your child when a child has done something wrong, or actually speak sense in your child in a decent manner, whenever your child look at you, should actually understand that my father does not want this, my father expects this. This is what your child is going to do, the expectations. Most of the time, the fathers are blaming the mothers. Yes, we understand mothers are very soft. We understand mothers are very protective because they carried this child 9 months. They will tell you that they went through all the types of pains and the feeding and all that. We understand that. But you've got to understand, Father, that you are the actual head of that department. God created to be the head of that department. You actually have to put the rules that the mother actually had to exercise, or must put them in place in the house. And mother, since you married with the father and you understand it's your husband, you're supposed to be taking up life together. It's your duty not to be taking sides and say, yes, you've got to sneak out and go out to the nightclub because your father does not want, but let your father not see you. That's not right. If the father actually raises a word or strong word against the child and you find that it's not okay being a mother, you don't have to rebuke the father in the presence of the child, because you're going to show the child the weakness of the father, and the child is going to take an advantage of the situation and start doing ill things or odd things. All what you have to do, go to your closet with your husband and reprimand him about something that he has said to the child, which of course would not be right. Do not expose the weakness of the father in front of the child or during the presence of the child. I am not giving you a lesson here. I'm actually trying to show you certain issues, of course, which contribute a lot into some other activities whereby parents are blamed for the children's activities. I fully understand this issue. There might be some kind of not communicating, or mother and father not communicating very well in the upbringing of children. If that is that way, you should bear it in mind. There's a disaster that comes out with those kids, because there will be the questions that people will be actually talking about, asking themselves about the future of those children. And in the future, people won't be surprised about them as the answers of what we see. They will be saying that the questions of yesterday, because they ask themselves about how are the two children going to be in the future. Mother, if ever there is anything wrong that the father is doing in the presence of your children, it's not advisable. Ignore, call him to the closet and speak to him. Father, if ever there is anything that you're not happy about the mother, do not scream and shout and beat your mother. Because this thing is going to, if a boy looks at the father beating the mother, this thing is going to get into his mind that, yes, every woman, every feminine gender must be beaten in order to knock sense into her head. And that is wrong. The minute he starts beating other children in the street or girls in the street, will be knowing exactly that. He saw it in the house, that girls must be beaten, women must be beaten. That is why he'll be beating girls up in the streets. At the end of the day, one day when he gets married, to be beating the wife, because he saw the father beating the wife. At the same time, if ever the girls will be watching their mothers swearing, insulting the father, this is what these girls are going to do in the streets, start insulting boys. And one day when they get married, they will start insulting their husbands, thinking that is the right thing to do, insulting their husbands. And that is where the trouble comes. That is not what we are expecting. As social, domestic parents, I will address you. You've got to take the full responsibility. If you are a father and you start drinking in the presence of your children, especially your boys, let me tell you, children's brains are very fragile. When they see you smiling and laughing and saying all odd things in their presence, they start thinking that is a wonderful thing that they're supposed to be doing in future. And they are going to try to test that in their closets or in private to feel how is it like. Because my father, when he's drunk, he makes noise. My father, when he's drunk, he does all these kind of things. You've got to respect your children. You're not supposed to be coming home drunk, saying all types of things during the presence of your children. If you drink an alcoholic beverage, yes, there's nothing wrong in drinking it when you're a matured person, but let that be done in a decent manner. And when you appear before your children should not even recognize that, of course, you've been drinking alcohol. Yes, if there is some kind of a smell, you're smelling like a father, they should just think that it's some kind of a way a father is supposed to be smelling like, not thinking that the father has taken alcoholic beverages and he's drunk. Children's brains are very fragile. Father and mother, if ever you're going to get into bedrooms, or you are just going to be having sexual intercourse during the presence of your children, let me tell you what's going to happen. Your children are going to put this into test because they see these things happening to you, to yourselves. Fathers and mothers, if ever you're going to allow your children to be watching pornographic movies, I'm telling you, your children are going to be indoctrinated with this. They're going to test this in the outside world, and that is where they're going to get hurt. Fathers and mothers, if you are going to allow your children to be watching all these kind of violent movies, you should bear it in mind. Your children, their minds are very fragile. They are going to grow up thinking that being violent is a wonderful thing. If you buy a toy for a boy, a gun, and you see somebody shooting right there on the movie or on a film, on TV, somebody, he will start practicing shooting with that little toy. I'm telling you, it's going to burn in the mind of the child. One day he's going to buy a gun and he's going to shoot someone. It means what I'm trying to say in polite terms. Violent movies are not things that you're supposed to be allowing your children to watch. I know this is a modern world, but it's your duty to stop the rotten modern world to progress with all this type of chain that is involved with a curse of destruction to the children. Cut this chain. Do not allow your children to watch violent movies. Do not allow your children to watch movies involved with people having sexual intercourses, kissing and all that, because they are going to try it out there. And once they try to get involved, they'll start feeling that this is the way life's supposed to be. And they got hurt outside. And you started saying, I don't know where this child get it from. I'm not supposed to blame. I'm not going around with this child. But you've forgotten that you allowed your child to be watching all these movies where men and women are just kissing and sleeping and having sex right there in those movies. Who's supposed to be blamed? Take the initiative. Let your child watch the actual movies which are meant for their age groups, for their understanding, for their education, for their good morals. I am not surprised why are we having all those people who are hijacking cars, who are hijacking all these trucks carrying monies, etc. Because they are watching them on all these violent movies when cars are being hijacked. When they grow up, it's right in the nucleus of their minds and brains. That is why they are hijacking cars. They learned long time ago. The seed was watered when they were young, watching these movies. And they put that into test. It happened once, second time, third time. Now lives of the other innocent people are lost. There's great damage in human race. Stop watching those movies with kids. Let them not watch those movies with you. Discourage them. It does not matter where and how. I think censorship is supposed to be applicable in the sense. You can say whatever you want. If you want good morals to God. Parents, I know you don't want to be blamed for this, but it's your full responsibility to know exactly that. Yes, your child needs to be educated. Your child needs to be, when I'm talking about educated, I'm not only referring to academical way of getting your children educated. I'm talking about getting educated in general, in good morals, in good ways of life. Yes, also in terms of academical way. It's your duty to see to it that they get there. If you can take the initiative, life or lives of our children will change for the actual better. Will change for the actual better. You know, social economic parents, I'll refer you to. That is those who actually employ children in industries of whatever. You know this is a child is not capable of actually working. You employ a child who's underage simply because you want to save money, simply because you don't want to pay the actual people who are meant to for those type of positions. Imagine if it was your child who of course was employed in an environment being abused in that manner. That is an economical abuse. Because you want to employ the child so that you should not pay the child. You should underpay the child. There is one thing you're not aware of. You're emotionally abusing the child. You are actually physically abusing the child. Mentally abusing the child. That child will never grow as a normal child. Simply because that child does not come from your waist. You put him through that process. That is wrong. Imagine if it was your child. If a child comes into your place looking for a job, try to find out the status, the age of the child, as whether the child qualifies to be in that particular point. Yes, the social political parents. Yes, I'm going to address you. I'm talking in terms of the government right here. You are always blamed for whatever the children are doing because you are the ones who are making the laws. You are making the rules, how this and that to be obeyed and to be done. And you're always saying things that, of course, are actually polluting the minds of our children, giving them untested rights, and just saying them loud. What is important about you is test the rights before you give them to our children. Actually, you don't even have to tell our children about their rights. You have to tell us about their rights so that we can educate them about those rights that actually belongs to them. The rights of being educated, good health, and being taken good care of. You don't have to be actually forming political parties out there and actually recruit children to come and vote for you. Actually putting some kind of an age and allow them actually to be voting for you. That is not fair. You know for a fact that mentally those children are not actually fine. They are not actually equipped with whatever kind of strong emotions of getting involved into the political atmosphere. But you involve them. At the end of the day, simply because they've got no understanding. That is why every time the children will go on rampage, you on top there, you'll always tell these children to go out and uprise, to go out on rioting, to go out doing stupid things, burning, killing, destroying, on your interest, on your behalf, because you've got different agendas about our children. That is not what you're supposed to do. Do not allow our children to venture into your political world when they are ready. Wait for our children to become adults enough in order to join the political world whenever they want to. It will be important that way. But the minute you are going to start coming up with issues, appealing issues of the fact that they've got this type of rights. You are saying they've got the rights to go to school being pregnant and to sit next to the children of the other people, to infect these other children with this kind of pregnancy disease, so that other children should also feel like they've got to be pregnant, so that when the babies are turning in their tummies, the other children should feel them and they should admire them and they should also try to experiment that. That is wrong. At the same time, you also give them grants. You give these kids the grants to bring these sinful seeds that they get, to bring them up with these grants is actually acknowledging the fact that you are encouraging them to go wildly on immorality, wildly on indecent lives. Because if you can stop that, our children will not go out there impregnating the others or others getting pregnant in order to get monies to go out and enjoy themselves, because the same little monies that you are giving them are not bringing up those children that of course they have given birth to. They go out drinking, they go out doing all other odd things. One girl will give birth to 4 kids in order to get 4 grants that she will have fun with that. What about those kids? If you can discourage the issue of these grants, the children will know that for sure. If you bring a child, it's a difficult way of bringing up the child. You're not supposed to do that. If a boy impregnates a child, a girl, supposed to understand that he is going to carry the actual responsibility. There are consequences thereof. He has to make sure he's going to work and support the child. That is going to make these boys to stop pregnanting the women, because they will know exactly that once they pregnant the women, they will have to go and work, and the money should be taken from those salaries in order to feed those children. And those girls who are actually pregnant, they should also go and work in order to feed these children. For sure, both salaries should be taken by this government, and it should be given to a welfare department which is going to bring up those children in a very decent manner. This queuing at the banks of all the cats that they are carrying, being proud of the fact that they've got 4 or 5 babies and they are getting grants. They keep on splitting their legs for boys in order to get kids for simple monies like that. Nonsense. The Christian world does not allow that. The Islamic world does not allow that. The African religions do not allow that. The Judaism world. No other religion that has actually been created by God for mankind is allowing nonsense like that. Social political parents, as I refer to you as the government, try to change your way of behaving when it comes to our children. Try to find out, why is a child pregnant? Try to establish some kind of an organization or some kind of a institution or whatever. If a child is pregnant, the child who's pregnant must be confronted, or the parents must be confronted. Both parents must be confronted. Put the children together and find out why they are pregnant, so that the children should know it's going to happen that way, and they'll have to refrain from being pregnant because they'll be reprimanded. And they should be isolated. A child who got a child being at school should not be in the same school with children who got no children. Must be at a different school of those who actually committed that kind of an offense, so that they should know they will be isolated. While they're isolated, they will be knowing some kind of prison. They've committed a sin, therefore they're supposed not to be bringing up children on planet Earth when they're not married. And those children, if they're not given to their grandparents to take care of, the welfare should take care of them. It will be important that way. A child who is pregnant should be taken out of school, should be taken far away. If there's an institution or another school of the pregnant girls, she must be taken there and be taught how to take care of that child right there. Be isolated. Most of the girls, they will know they're not supposed to get pregnant because they'll be sent to those type of institutions, which of course it will be some kind of a disgusting institution of children who never listen to their parents. And once they got out of there, they should never mix with the children who had children, who never had children. They should be blacklisted. They should, in their certificates, it should be written that they had children before they were even married, while they were still at school. I think people will know. I think children will know the blacklisting will be against a proper way of life, and they'll refrain from all these odd activities. Even boys who actually, or they are confirmed having pregnant girls, must be blacklisted, so that every time, whenever they look for employment, in their certificates, it's written that he impregnated 2 girls, and the employer should say, are you taking care of those children? The employer should actually make inquiries with the necessary department. Am I supposed to feed these children? Am I supposed to deduct money for those children to be taken care of? It should be an obligation. They will fear. They will fear from impregnating girls. Girls will be fearing to be impregnated by boys. Other children will not be affected by the same situation and try to experiment that. That is the duty assigned to you, social, political parent, referred to as the governments. I might be a little bit arrogant when it comes to this, but when are we going to get a society which is perfect? We've got a society of children who've got no fathers. Girls are bringing up children on their own. And the same children who are brought on planet Earth without fathers, if they are girls, it's like a curse. They also give birth to children who've got no fathers. It continues like that as a chain. It has to be cut one way or the other. I'm not going to try to speak nice about the other tribes, the other nations. Why don't we find high statistics of children who are pregnant being at school in Islamic schools or among the Muslims? Why? It's because those parents, they make sure that they bring their children within the structure of the religion, which is very strict. If ever you are going to get pregnant before getting married, there are severe consequences to follow. That is why you don't get cases like that. You know for a fact. You go among the Jews in Israel. If ever a child is going to get pregnant before getting married, there are consequences to follow. That is why you don't find issues like that. If ever you get to deep African rural places where you find a girl is getting pregnant before getting married to a boy, there are consequences to follow. Very strict. That is why it's not open. But get to the urban areas and semi-urban areas. Urban areas. It's a disaster. The money that's supposed to be actually given to the old-aged, building proper houses for the people, is actually being given as grants to these children who are giving children and giving birth to children and children and children every time for no absolute reason. This is what we call adding more on the power of demonic spirits to commit sins and destruction of human race. Be careful. Social, economic parents. This is wrong. Change this to the better way. Change this to the better way. Children smoking, taking substances that intoxicate you is not the solution to the problem that you find in the house because your father and mother are fighting or there is some kind of poverty in the house. That's not a solution. Children, for your father and mother not to be rich is not a curse. Let me explain to you. As I explained before, for a father and mother not to be rich as you expected, they are the product of the past. The manner in which I'm going to explain to you. If ever the mother worked very hard and the father towards God and they impress God, God blesses them. But they don't become the beneficiaries of the blessings. The blessings do not manifest in their lives. The blessings manifest in those who come from their waists. That is why those parents who are rich, they are the product of the past blessed. Because those who came before them did well in the eyes of God and God blessed them. That is why they are rich. And those who are the middle class, they did to that an extent and God also blessed them to that particular way. That is why they are the middle class. They are the product of the past blessed. Those who don't have anything, we call them the poor or the needy. It's not a curse. It's because those who actually live in the past, they are the product of the past, never actually achieve that much to God so that God can actually provide and bless them with the wealth. That is why they are that way. But it's your duty as a child to change things around, to cut the chain if the chain is that way. You've got to work hard, impress God, so that those who come from your waist are going to point at you as the one who actually delivered, or the one who actually allowed the blessings from God to go through. It's important. So, Work hard, don't blame your parents, so that you can be in a position to enjoy. Don't blame your parents and start doing stupid things of smoking and drinking and all that. And let me tell you, those who are actually the needy or the poor are in majority. We know for a fact that the kind of a dark cloud spreads so big, it takes a very big spectrum and cover a lot of people and cloud a lot of people with a lot of negativity. That is why negativity is so much on planet Earth. But don't wish to be part of that. Most of the time, try to shy away from the big cloud of negativity. Parents, it's your duty to make it happen with your children. I'll close my case. Let the good Lord bless you with your children. Let the good Lord give you the blessings of trying very hard. I know you love them and you try very hard, but as I explained, try harder. As we stand right here, some of us are the product of those who got never blessed because they never did well in his eyes. But we don't have to blame them. We've got to work hard, stand out like the way I stand and talk to you, so that those who come from my waist, they should be proud of me, that I actually tried hard to prepare for them, even though the blessings might not manifest in me, but it must manifest in them. Let's do that. I love